My 5-year-old son and I were trapped in a hotel fire. My wife, Clara, a firefighter who got the call, didn't come for us. Instead, she was busy rescuing her first love, Daniel, and his son in the room next door. Right before he died, my son asked me, "Mommy is a hero. She saved so many people. Why wouldn't she save us?" I couldn't answer him. Later, at his funeral, I called Clara. She snapped. "Daniel and his son have burns. They're in the hospital. Can you stop being ridiculously jealous at a time like this?" Then she hung up. Sitting in my wheelchair, looking at my son Noah's tombstone and the extensive burns covering my body, I knew our marriage was truly over. By the time my son and I realized there was a fire, it was already raging. Our only option was to hide in the room. My wife Clara was a firefighter, and she was leading the rescue team today. When Noah and I saw her from the window upstairs, we thought our savior had arrived. When we left for our trip, I had texted her the hotel address and our room number. But when Clara came upstairs, she bypassed our room and went straight for Daniel and his son next door. My son couldn't hold back his tears any longer. "Daddy, Mr. Daniel and Liam, they're here too. Mommy only cares about them. Is she not going to help us again? Daddy, it hurts so much." The room was thick with smoke. He was only 5. He was barely holding on. I frantically grabbed a wet towel, covered his mouth and nose, and carried him to the door. "Clara, please!" I screamed her name, my voice raw, but she didn't even pause. Through the roaring flames, I only heard her gently comforting Daniel. "Don't be afraid, I'm here. You and the boy will be okay." Belatedly, I tried to cover my son's ears, but it was too late. Tears filled his eyes, his pupils already starting to dilate. "Mommy, why does Mommy always not notice me?" I yelled really, really loud. "Cough, cough. Daddy, I'm sorry. Next time let Mommy get you, okay?" After Noah spoke his last words, his hand fell limp. My mind went blank, buzzing. Only a sharp pain hammered into my chest again and again until I thought I couldn't bear it. I struggled to my feet, clutching his small body tightly. The sting in my eyes was overwhelming. "Okay, Daddy. Noah, don't sleep a little longer. Okay, Daddy will get you out right now." Black smoke billowed so thick I couldn't even see Noah's face. The floor was scorching, the door searing hot. Flames licked at my body, engulfing both me and Noah in my arms. How much pain must my child have been in? Sobbing, I tried to beat out the flames on him, but they wouldn't extinguish. The smoke was too thick, the fire too fierce. I couldn't walk, so I crawled. The hallway seemed endless. Finally, other firefighters doing a final sweep found us and took us to the hospital. Clara was in the next room with Daniel and his son, but just like in the fire, separated by only a wall, she never noticed Noah and me, her attention completely fixed on her first love and his child. Doctors tried to pull me away to treat my extensive burns. I refused, kneeling on the floor, begging them again and again to save my son. "He's just exhausted. He fell asleep temporarily. Please save him." The doctor sighed and took Noah into the emergency room. The defibrillator charged again and again, but that small body never opened its eyes again. He said, "The child suffered greatly in the fire while alive. Don't torture his body further after death." My Leo was so afraid of pain. I had severe burns all over my body. I asked my brother to handle Noah's funeral arrangements and the divorce proceedings with Clara. I had drawn up the divorce papers the day I was injured and signed them. But Clara's phone was unreachable, just like on the day of the fire. It slowly dawned on me. She had blocked me again. Every time Clara was with Daniel and his son and found my calls annoying, she blocked me. When she was in a better mood, she'd unblock me. I had endured this for 6 long years. But at this moment, I suddenly felt an overwhelming exhaustion and weariness. My brother went to the funeral home to arrange Noah's service, leaving only a caregiver with me. I had the caregiver lift me into the wheelchair, and I wheeled myself next door to find Clara. I couldn't stand another second of this ridiculous marriage. The room next door was also a private room. My family is wealthy, and my monthly salary is substantial, money that Clara managed. Otherwise, with her salary, how could she afford a luxurious private room for Daniel and his son? That pair came out of the fire with just some soot on their faces and a few scattered blisters. Yet Clara acted like they were gravely injured, her concern overwhelming. I thought again of Noah's unrecognizable little body, and the pain in my chest felt like it was suffocating me. Indeed, the difference between being loved and not being loved was vast. "Clara!" I ground out her name. Clara turned to look at me, her smile vanishing, her brow immediately furrowing. "Alex, who let you in here? Get out." I wore a hat and mask to hide my injuries, afraid to frighten people. But I was in a hospital gown sitting in a wheelchair. Anyone could see I was unwell and hospitalized. Clara, however, was blind to it, afraid I would disturb Daniel and his son's rest. She stood up and pushed me out, not forgetting to warn me. "Daniel and I are just friends. How many times do I have to explain? He doesn't have a wife, no other family. He's pitiable enough. Do you have to be so petty making a scene over this every time?"
I had heard these lectures so many times my ears were calloused. Daniel didn't have a wife, but he had Clara to take care of him. I had a wife, but it was like having no wife at all. When Noah was a baby and crying for milk, Clara was at Daniel's house making baby food for his son, telling me not to bother her with everything. Eventually, a female neighbor helped. When I had a car accident and called Clara, she was helping Daniel pick out clothes and told me not to cause trouble. When Noah had a high fever and seizure in the middle of the night, she had to stay with Daniel's son, who was scared after watching a horror movie, telling me not to be jealous and stir up drama. Incidents like these were countless. Now, seeing Clara's self-righteous expression, my stomach churned. I didn't want to waste another word on her. "Sign the divorce papers and I'll leave." I handed her the divorce agreement. Clara, assuming I was just acting out again, didn't take it, only saying impatiently, "Will you ever stop? As soon as Daniel and Liam are better, I'll come home." She always made promises like that, but this time I felt not even a flicker of hope. "If you don't sign, I'll have my lawyer file suit. Also, Noah's funeral is in 6 days. You should be there." "All right, I'm coming." Clara responded with tension and concern, not asking a single question about Noah's funeral before going back inside. I stared at the closed door, my chest feeling like it was pierced by 1,000 knives. I don't even know how I got back to my room. I just remembered my chest feeling so tight I could hardly breathe. Right up until the day of the funeral, Clara never asked a single thing about Noah. Even as the funeral was about to begin, she, the mother, hadn't arrived. The arriving guests murmured amongst themselves, "Why isn't the child's mother here yet? I heard she's at the hospital with a father and son. The man is her ex-boyfriend, but she can't just skip her own son's funeral. That's outrageous. It's her own flesh and blood." Everyone looked at me with pity. Some, fearing I was too grief-stricken, came over to comfort me. Thinking of how Noah always desperately wished his mother would spend time with him, my throat felt like it was full of thorns. I clenched my fist tightly, my nails digging into the blisters in my palm. The pain helped me barely suppress the rage boiling inside me. This was my child's farewell to the world. I couldn't mess it up. I told my brother, "Call Clara for me." She had blocked my number. My brother's face was grim as he called Clara. The call connected quickly. "Clara, today is Noah's—" "Are you serious? Daniel and his son were injured in the fire. They got infections and are hospitalized. Taking care of them is the right thing to do. My conscience is clear. Can you stop being so dirty-minded that you see filth everywhere?" Clara sounded even angrier than I was, hanging up immediately after finishing. No wonder she had no reaction when I told her Noah died that day. She thought I was just being unreasonable. I had been accused by her many times, but this time I trembled with anger, unable to even speak. Her shout was loud. My brother standing next to me heard it too. He snatched the phone, sent Clara a photo of Noah's death certificate, and called her back, each word seemingly forced from his throat. Clara, did you see it clearly? Noah's been gone for a week, and you, his own mother, haven't shown your face once? Are you even fucking human? My brother spoke gravely enough that anyone not completely delusional would know Noah's funeral wasn't a joke. I thought knowing the truth, Clara would apologize, regret, feel guilty. But in reality, she said nothing and hung up. She didn't show up, even by the end of the funeral. I forced myself to hold it together through the entire service. I don't remember who came or what they said when they tried to comfort me. I only know I sat in my wheelchair looking at Noah's smiling face on the tombstone, his tortured voice echoing in my ears. Daddy, it hurts so much. Daddy, didn't Mommy remember we were staying in this room? Then why did she remember Mr. Daniel and Liam were in the room next door? I yelled so loud. Why couldn't Mommy hear me? Daddy, are we going to die? Those words played over and over like invisible threads weaving a cage around me. A nightmare I couldn't escape. My multiple burns had become severely infected from being outside for so long. My mind was delirious, unable to distinguish reality from dreams. I vaguely remember someone holding my hand, saying over and over, "Alex, don't sleep." By the time my condition stabilized and I was moved to a regular ward, 10 days had passed. Clara sat by my bedside, dark circles under her eyes, her hair messy, looking disheveled and unlike herself. Seeing her, a flicker of joy crossed her face. "Alex, you're finally awake." Seeing her, all the painful, desperate, suppressed emotions surged back, threatening to burst my heart. Slap. Gritting my teeth, I sat up and slapped Clara hard across the face. I never hit women, but she was an exception. I didn't know how she had the nerve to show her face in front of me again. Clara's face immediately swelled, her eyes filled with bitterness. "I didn't make it to Noah's funeral. That was wrong of me. You have resentment, you have to let it out. Don't keep it bottled up, it's not good for your health." Daniel rushed forward, his face pale, and knelt before me, his eyes red. "I'm sorry, Alex, that's why she missed Noah's funeral. It's all my fault." Daniel grabbed my hand, trying to make me hit his face. He had pulled stunts like this countless times before, leaving me at a loss. But this time, slap. I slapped Daniel across the face. Still not satisfied, I slapped him again hard. Pathetic. Truly pathetic. How can someone be so pathetic? There are so many single women in the world. Why must you seduce another man's wife? Does stealing another man's woman satisfy your sick need to be despicable?
As I raised my hand for a third slap, Clara grabbed my wrist, her face livid. "Enough! I told you Daniel and I are just friends. He doesn't have a wife. A single father raising a child isn't easy. Do you have to think the worst?" I wrenched my hand free, having no desire to even argue with her, just pointing towards the door in disgust. "Get out." "Alex, how could you treat Clara like this?" Daniel tried to interject, playing the victim. I grabbed whatever was within reach and hurled it at him and Clara. "Get out, both of you! Get out!" Clara looked at me with a complex expression, but quickly turned to shield Daniel protectively as they left. Seeing this used to break my heart, but now I was numb. I came from a prominent family, while Clara was a firefighter from an ordinary background. We shouldn't have crossed paths. That time, a friend was heartbroken and we went drinking. At my most desperate moment, Clara found me and risked her life to get me out. She was beautiful and she saved my life. I fell madly in love with her. After confirming she was single, I pursued her for a long time before she agreed to date me and eventually proposed marriage. Just hearing Clara's profession, you'd think she was a tough woman, but she was very gentle, always smiling at everyone, incredibly emotionally stable, even when faced with bizarre people or situations. At first glance, she seemed very approachable, but the longer you knew her, the harder it was to get close to her heart. After marriage, Clara handled all the housework, had a good temper. Everyone said I married a wonderful wife. However, she was very polite to me, and intimacy often felt more like a duty. There seemed to be an invisible barrier between us. I thought she was like that with everyone until Daniel divorced and returned from abroad. That day, I saw Clara lose control for the first time. It was our wedding anniversary, but she took leave from work just to spend time with Daniel, not even coming home that night. I later learned Daniel was her ex-boyfriend. They started dating in middle school and were together for nearly 10 years. Their relationship was very strong. They were forced to break up because his parents disapproved. Clara said she just felt sorry for Daniel, a single father raising a child alone, and wanted to help him out, insisting she had never done anything to betray me. I believed her, and so I lost everything. I forgot that cheating isn't just physical. After Clara left, she sent me many messages, each one a long essay. I didn't even want to look at them. I blocked her chat and phone number, then called my brother and told him to fire Daniel. Previously, I didn't know he was Clara's ex. I heard she had a friend who was divorced, raising a child alone, struggling, and happened to be in the media industry, so I proactively offered him a job at my family's company. Thinking back now, probably many people were laughing at me. The day after Daniel was fired, Clara came looking for me. She frowned. "You're angry at me, you act out against me, I can tolerate that, but just because I took care of Daniel and his son a little more, you get jealous and have your brother fire him? You know he needs to earn money to support his son. Are you trying to push him to his death?" I stared at her coldly. "It's my family's company, I can fire whoever I want. If you're not happy, you can find your first love a new job. And I'm not just firing him. Every penny you spent on him during our marriage, I'm getting back." Clara's face instantly darkened. "Alex, let me emphasize again, I have never done anything to betray you. He's my ex-boyfriend, and now I only consider him a regular friend." Regular friend, regular friend, regular friend. I was so sick of that phrase and sick of her self-righteous attitude. I couldn't hold my emotions any longer. I roared at her hysterically, as if trying to expel all the pent-up resentment inside me. Clara looked at me, the displeasure and irritation on her face fading, suddenly replaced by a desolate gray pallor. Her mouth opened in disbelief, but no sound came out. Only her eyes instantly filled with pain and panicked fear. All of Clara's emotional outbursts were always related to Daniel and his son. This was the first time she showed so much emotion because of Noah and me. But this was no honor. It felt more like a naked mockery. Clara looked at me, bewildered. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. I really didn't know you and Noah were there too. I didn't do it on purpose." She reached out to grab me, stammering in her panic. I slapped her hand away forcefully. "I told you the hotel room number on text more than once. You were too busy reminding Daniel and his son what to bring and to be careful, but you forgot Noah and I were even traveling, didn't you?"
The color drained from Clara's face. Trembling, she took out her phone and scrolled up through our messages. I always liked sharing bits of my life with her. Our chat history was mostly me talking. Her replies were occasional, usually just a "huh" or "oh." The night before Noah died, he said he missed Mommy and wanted to video call her, but Clara was on the phone with Daniel's son, Liam. She said Liam didn't have a mother, was very sensitive, a poor child, and needed more of her time. So she rejected her own son's 3 consecutive video call requests. Not wanting Noah to be sad, I offered to record a short video for him, saying Mommy would definitely watch it. Noah happily faced the camera, sharing the sites we'd visited, and then, full of hope,
told her our address, hoping she could come join us if she had time. Clara's hands trembled as she clicked play on the video. Her eyes reddened, tears streamed down her face, and suppressed sobs escaped her throat. I had never seen her look so wretched. Seeing it now brought me no satisfaction, only a tight, uncomfortable feeling in my chest. What good was her regret or pain now? My Noah wasn't coming back. Clara clutched her phone tightly, her voice choked. I failed, Noah. I caused his death. You can hate me. You deserve to. But you can't take it out on Daniel and Liam. They did nothing wrong. You shouldn't. I picked up a water glass and smashed it on the floor. The fury inside almost consumed me. A glass shard grazed Clara's face, leaving a thin line of blood. You want to protect them, Clara? You need to see if you have the ability. Get out. I couldn't bear to speak another word to her. Someone like her didn't deserve to be Noah's mother. The commotion in the room was loud. My brother and Sophie entered with medical staff and escorted Clara out. I had just come out of the ICU. My body was depleted and the emotional roller coaster left me feeling dizzy. My brother had barely been to the office for over half a month, and work had piled up. He told me to rest well, leaving Sophie and the caregiver to look after me, then rushed off to the company. Sophie was my brother's friend, usually gentle and quiet, a seemingly sweet girl who ended up becoming a lawyer, stunning us all. I hired her as my lawyer for the divorce. Sophie sat in the chair by my bedside, blinking her big eyes. During our marriage, Clara spent all her income on Daniel and his son and also used $200,000 of my money. I want to recover all the funds she spent on the third party and divorce her. Additionally, Clara violated fire department regulations, delaying Noah's rescue, which led to his death and my severe injuries. I want to report her to her superiors. I have limited mobility, so could you please arrange this for me, Sophie? Arguing with Clara left me dizzy, but my mind was surprisingly clear. I didn't need the money, but I wanted to make both Clara and Daniel miserable, and I wanted all her colleagues to know the disgusting things she did, lest someone else lose their life due to her selfishness next time. Sophie readily agreed and started preparing the lawsuit for fund recovery and the report. That evening, Clara arrived at the ward with a bandage on her face, carrying a thermal container. I've taken too much leave recently. Couldn't ask for more, so I'm a bit late. With your injuries, there's a lot you can't eat. I specifically made some light but nutritious dishes. Try some. Clara acted nonchalantly, setting out the food and pouring soup. She had 10 days of annual leave per year. 9.5 were dedicated to Daniel and his son, with the remaining half-day reserved for other potential emergencies. I glanced at the food. It looked quite good. The next second, I swept it all onto the floor, knocking over the soup along with it. I said distastefully, "Going through all this trouble to bring me one meal, trying to get me to drop the claim for the money you transferred to the third party?" Clara stared at the mess on the floor, her face turning livid. "Alex, can you please not phrase it so horribly? Daniel and I are innocent. That money was just a loan. I really don't understand what Daniel ever did to you that makes you target him like this." I had heard this line too many times before. I started coughing from anger. Clara fell silent and came over to pat my back. Before Daniel appeared, we were considered a model couple by others. Otherwise, Noah wouldn't have been born. I didn't know how things between us had devolved to this point. Clara sighed, her voice softening. "You're weak. Let's not fight, okay? You're a father too. You should understand how difficult it is for Daniel. He's already lost his job. If I demand the money back now, would that even be human? Try to see it from his perspective." I felt some things could never get through to her, and I didn't want to waste my breath anymore. I said impatiently, "I have nothing more to say to you. Get out now." Clara frowned. Just then Daniel called her, saying Liam couldn't sleep without her there. She instantly lost the mood to argue with me. "Alex, you're angry right now. We'll talk about whatever issues you have when you've calmed down." Every time I got angry about Daniel, she wouldn't console me, only criticize me, telling me to digest those emotions myself. She probably thought this would be like all the others, ending with the big issues becoming small and the small ones vanishing. But she didn't know. The moment Noah died, everything between us was irrevocably finished. I didn't want to stay in the hospital any longer being disturbed by people like Clara and Daniel. That night, I checked out and went back to my family home. The next day, unable to reach me, Clara asked a mutual friend to relay a message. "Alex, you just got out of danger from a severe infection. Why aren't you in the hospital? Clara is very worried about you." I scoffed. Ask your Clara why, if she's so worried about me, she argued with me the day I got out of the ICU to defend her ex-boyfriend. Ask her if she's so worried about me, why she spent less than 10 minutes in my hospital room before rushing off to Daniel's place.
I slammed down the phone and tagged Clara and Daniel in our group chat. Stop asking me to play along with your charade. Isn't it disgusting? Do you two really think everyone is blind? Clara, if you actually had the guts to admit you just like your ex-boyfriend, I wouldn't be so disgusted by you. Instead of being a hypocrite, clearly favoring him while denying it and blaming Noah and me, and everyone, keep a close eye on your spouses, lest you end up in the same situation as me. The group chat went silent. Everyone was probably gossiping like crazy in private messages. Clara texted me from a new number. "You hate me? You can retaliate however you want. I accept it. But can you please stop targeting Daniel and his son? How many times do I have to tell you they are innocent?" Anyone could claim innocence, but beneficiaries like them didn't deserve to. Before, I didn't talk about their sordid affairs because I valued my dignity. Now that Noah was gone, I wished Clara and Daniel would just die. I called her back, my voice cold. "Don't worry, Clara, you're included too. Neither of you will escape." "Do you really have to do this?" "Yes. You've become so aggressive, I barely recognize you anymore, Alex." "Funny, Clara. If I had known you were this clueless, I wouldn't have married you. Then my child wouldn't have been constantly scolded for not being as well-behaved as Liam, wouldn't have become insecure and sensitive, and certainly wouldn't have died in agony after his hopes were shattered." Sophie worked fast. The court ruling came down quickly, ordering Daniel to pay me a substantial sum. However, just as Sophie had initially predicted, without concrete evidence of Clara's adultery, the court deemed the marital relationship not broken beyond repair and denied the divorce. Clara was furious about me forcing Daniel to repay the money and wanted to borrow money herself to pay it for him. But I vetoed that, relaying a message through Sophie. "Clara, if you want to support your lovers, I won't stop you after the divorce. But right now, any money you borrow is considered joint marital debt, and I do not consent." I thought Clara would readily agree. She cared so much about Daniel and his son, how could she bear to see them suffer? But I guessed wrong. Clara requested a face-to-face meeting. I refused. Sophie came back and told me, "Clara refuses to divorce. She believes your marriage is strong, that you just have some misunderstandings right now and are acting out of anger." I realized I truly didn't understand Clara at all. Her entire being was devoted to Daniel and his son. In recent years, she had grown increasingly impatient with me, treating me worse than a stranger. I couldn't comprehend why she was still clinging to this marriage. Clara wouldn't let Noah and me have peace, so I wouldn't tolerate her behavior like before. She wanted to drag this out. I'd make her beg me for a divorce later. The official complaint had already been sent to the fire department, and the process had been underway for days. A leader from the disciplinary department called, wanting to talk. I agreed. A large group of people came over, bringing many nutritional supplements on learning I was recovering. I just didn't expect them to bring Clara along. The leader spoke earnestly. "Well, Clara has explained the situation to us. This incident was indeed her fault. Clara, come over here and sincerely apologize to Alex." Clara had lost a lot of weight these past few days. Her eyes were bloodshot. She walked up to me, her voice hoarse. "I'm sorry, Alex." "Can your apology bring back Noah?"
Clara, you didn't even attend your own son's funeral. You're truly despicable." She swallowed hard. The usually calm and composed woman now looked utterly panicked. I failed Noah. But Liam had a sudden heart attack. He doesn't have a mother, and Daniel didn't know what to do. I really couldn't get away. Is Daniel the only living person around him? Huh? He's a 35-year-old adult, not a 5-year-old child. If you didn't want to attend the funeral, just say so. Why make so many excuses? Aren't you tired? I looked around the room, my voice trembling. Are you all here today to plead Clara's case? Just listen to her. Can any of you honestly stomach what she's saying? Everyone present looked awkward. The leader cleared his throat, forcing himself to speak. Well, you have to be frank. It wasn't easy for Clara, a woman, to get where she is. She is very capable, and there were plans to promote her. She has a bright future ahead. You two are husband and wife. If you formally report her, her career will be ruined. I ignored the leader's words and just asked Clara, "Do you still have the face to continue being a firefighter?" Clara, if the rescuer that day had not been you, Noah would not have died. When you were holding your lover, comforting Liam, did you know that Noah was just on the other side of the wall, crying over and over, "Mommy, it hurts so much"? If anyone else had led the rescue, no one would have died. Not Noah, and not Daniel and his son either. Clara's face turned deathly pale. She couldn't utter a word and ran out, losing her composure. Through the window, I saw the sky was dark and overcast, looking like it was about to pour. The next day, the fire department called to inform me of Clara's punishment: a major demerit, demotion, and removal from her position as captain. My injuries had healed considerably. I went to the cemetery to visit Noah. He had only been gone a month, but it felt like ages ago. Sometimes I'd wake up crying from nightmares about him and couldn't fall back asleep, every second feeling like an eternity of torment. I didn't expect Clara to be there too. Fresh flowers, an Ultraman toy, a small cake, and lots of snacks were placed before the tombstone. I walked over expressionless and kicked them all away.
Clara frowned. "Alex, whatever issues we have, you can take it out on me however you want. You don't need to act like this in front of Noah. He's my child too." "But everything you brought is what Liam likes. Noah hated sweets and didn't like Ultraman either." I placed the Lego set, the Rubik's Cube, and the spicy snacks Noah loved on the grave. Clara awkwardly knelt, helping me arrange them. "I'm sorry, Alex. I just thought all kids like those things." "If you don't care, don't pretend. Don't you find yourself disgusting?" She could remember all of Liam's preferences, but couldn't recall a single thing Noah liked. Ultimately, it boiled down to indifference. Clara said bitterly, "I just wanted to spend more time with Noah. I was too busy. I spent too little time with him. But Noah told me before he died that he wanted a different mother next life." Clara stumbled, her eyes slowly turning red. She knelt on the ground, repeating, "Noah, I'm sorry. Mommy was wrong," over and over. But I only found her utterly hypocritical. If you truly feel sorry, you should respect his final wish and stop appearing before him. Clara started to say something, but Daniel called. She immediately stood up. I looked up at her. The guilt, pain, and remorse in her eyes had vanished, replaced only by resentment. "Alex, I've told you before, Daniel and Liam are innocent. If someone must be blamed for Noah's death, it's me. It has nothing to do with Daniel and Liam. You're a father too. Why are you being so harsh to another father and son, not even letting them keep the house they live in?" Daniel, emboldened by Clara's support, refused to pay back the money despite having it. I had Sophie petition the court for mandatory enforcement, forcing the auction of the property under Daniel and his son's name. They had just been evicted that morning. "Don't panic, I'm coming right now." Clara kept reassuring Daniel, leaving anxiously. See, she fundamentally didn't understand her mistake. It was all just lip service. As soon as Daniel and his son appeared, she would endlessly blame me. But Clara didn't suddenly become like this. The signs were always there. I remember when we first started dating, I asked her, "Why risk your life to save a stranger like me?" She said, "It's my duty." "But firefighters are human too. Aren't you ever afraid?" She smiled. "It might have something to do with how I grew up." Later, I learned Clara's father was also a firefighter who died in the line of duty when she was 7. Her mother was unwell, unemployed, and struggled to raise her, passing away when she was 15. Thanks to the help of her father's colleagues and other relatives and friends, she grew up safely and got into the fire academy. Daniel's parents strongly opposed their relationship precisely because of her poor family background and deceased parents. Clara never complained, saying, "No one wants to live a hard life. It's understandable." Her mother always told her, "We live relatively easily thanks to others' help. When you grow up, you must also help others as much as you can." Clara was strong-willed, but also soft-hearted. She was always optimistic about life and eager to help those in need, giving away most of her meager earnings to struggling families. My family was wealthy. We didn't rely on her income. So I always thought she was kind. That was what I loved most about her. But later, it became the thing I hated most. Whenever Daniel and his son asked for help, she, like helping anyone else, would never refuse. I went from initial calmness to panic, then finally to anger. Clara could never understand why I was angry, only disappointedly accusing me. "I used to help others and you never said anything. Why must you pick on Daniel and his son? We have never crossed the line. Can you stop being unreasonably jealous all the time?" Dragging myself from my memories, I stayed with Noah for over an hour before heading back. Maybe I shouldn't have left the house today. First encountering Clara during the visit, and now coming back to find her with Daniel and his son. Only they were on the rooftop. I was downstairs, and a crowd of onlookers surrounded us. Daniel stood at the edge of the rooftop holding his child. Clara, police officers, and firefighters were trying to calm him down. An airbag was inflated below, and a fire truck stood by. Seeing me, Daniel cried out desperately, "Alex, do I and my child have to die before you'll finally let us go?" My phone rang. Clara, knowing I had blocked her, borrowed someone else's phone to call me. Her tone was pleading, "Don't provoke him. They've suffered enough. Take it out on me." I gritted my teeth. "Suffered? Do you know that during the fire, they knew perfectly well Noah and I were right next door, but deliberately didn't remind you?" Clara faltered, almost stammering. "Impossible. Daniel is kind-hearted. He would never do something like that." Blinded by bias. People only believe what they want to believe. I hung up and shouted towards Daniel, "Weren't you going to jump? Jump! If you can't bear to let your kid jump, jump yourself!" The moment I finished speaking, police and firefighters rushed towards me, frantically trying to stop me. Many onlookers also stared at me reproachfully. I laughed, about to yell back when a megaphone was handed to me. It was Sophie. She grinned at me. "Shouting hurts your throat. Your brother would worry. He specifically told me to protect you." I took the megaphone. "What are you afraid of? Daniel has no intention of jumping. Does he look like he wants to jump?" Everyone looked up at Daniel on the rooftop and fell silent. Sophie, thinking the crowd was too dense for people to see who was talking, somehow found a stool and placed it in front of me. I hesitated for a moment, then stood on it. "I'm not afraid to embarrass myself. The man shouting up there is my wife's lover, and the woman behind him is my wife. During our marriage, my wife transferred a substantial amount to her lover. I sued him, he refused to pay, so his house is being auctioned. He doesn't want to pay, doesn't want the house auctioned, so he's putting on this show today, trying to use public pressure to force me to back down. My wife hasn't hesitated to blame me because of her lover. If you all think I, the wronged party, still recovering from burns and now being threatened, are too harsh, then I have nothing more to say." The crowd erupted. "Shameless! Isn't this wasting emergency resources? The poor husband. Those two are disgusting."
Sophie gave me a thumbs up and drove me home. Daniel's stunt blew up, becoming headline news. Soon after, media outlets dug up the details of what happened during the fire. During the fire at the New Sun Hotel on the 15th, firefighter Clara led the rescue, but due to personal bias, disrupted the search order to rescue her ex-boyfriend Daniel and his son first. Her failure to conduct a proper sweep according to regulations delayed rescue efforts, resulting in the death of a 5-year-old boy and severe burns to a man. Adding to the drama, the deceased boy was Clara's own son, and the injured man her husband. Their room was adjacent to her ex-boyfriend's. Clara and Daniel were vilified online. I heard landlords recognize Daniel when he tried to rent places and refused him. As for Clara, the public backlash against her was immense. How could someone who wouldn't even save her own son be trusted to help others? Her work ethic made the public feel unsafe and furious. Clara tried multiple times to contact me, failing each time. Finally, she hired a lawyer to file for divorce. Sophie, acting as my divorce lawyer, handled the communication. She relayed Clara's message via the lawyer. She said Daniel was just too panicked during the fire and forgot you and Noah were next door. She feels you're persecuting them without understanding the full picture, is very disappointed in you, and has decided to divorce you. Was she just easily fooled by Daniel, or did she not dare face the fact that she helped someone with malicious intent, ultimately causing her own son's death? I didn't know, and I no longer had the energy to investigate. When I loved her, I racked my brain for excuses, desperately searching for any sign that she loved Noah and me even a little. But now, none of it mattered. Let's try to get the application filed at the courthouse today. Set the negotiation location at my place. In the period right after Noah died, I couldn't bear to go home, afraid the familiar surroundings would trigger an emotional collapse. And I certainly couldn't stand being under the same roof as Clara anymore. Now determined to divorce, knowing the house held so many memories of Noah, I would definitely keep it. Clara would have to take all her things with her. Sophie informed the other lawyer, then drove me over. We arrived at our doorstep, but the lawyer suddenly called, saying negotiating at home wasn't convenient, and changed the location to a coffee shop. All I wanted was to quickly divorce Clara and sever ties, so I readily agreed. But since we were already here, I decided to grab Noah's favorite Lego set to burn at his grave after the divorce was settled. Unexpectedly, after entering the password twice, it showed incorrect password. Then a familiar male voice came from inside. "Who is it?" The door opened. It was Daniel. Daniel was in pajamas and Liam trailed behind him, also in home clothes. The furniture in the living room had been changed. It was obvious the father and son had settled in here. This was my marital home with Clara. We weren't divorced yet. Daniel and his child living here? What did she think this place was? Blood rushed to my head, chaos swirling in my mind. Seeing me, Daniel panicked and tried to slam the door shut. Sophie clicked her tongue impatiently and kicked the door open. You can't come in." Daniel tried to block me, bracing himself. "Get out of my way." I shoved him aside and rushed in. When I saw the bedroom completely changed, with no trace of Noah's existence left, my mind exploded. Where are Noah's clothes, shoes, toys, and photos? Hearing me on the verge of a breakdown, his eyes darted away. Liam answered for him. "Daddy said keeping a dead person's things in the house is bad luck, so he threw them all away." The last of my sanity snapped. I punched Daniel hard in the face, kicked him several times. He fell to the ground. I straddled him, wanting to beat him to death. Why? Why? Even after my child was dead, did you have to erase every last trace of him? Clara always said they were innocent. So what about Noah and me? Were we just supposed to be bullied? "Stop it, Alex. What are you doing? If you don't stop, I'm calling the police." Clara ran in furiously, instinctively shielding Daniel without asking questions, just like always. She tried to pull me off, but was blocked. Sophie smirked.
Miss Clara, your husband is in a conflict with someone else, and you're siding with an outsider? Isn't that inappropriate? Though Sophie looked slender, she was a national martial arts champion. Clara couldn't break free, but her heart ached for Daniel. Face dark, she chose to call the police. Alex, Daniel is gentle-natured. That's no reason for you to bully him. You hit him last time, and he didn't hold it against you. Instead of repenting, you escalate. I understand your pain of losing a child, but you shouldn't take it out on innocent people. I slapped her across the face. Clara, I have never met anyone more despicable than you. After the police arrived, I didn't say a word. Sophie handled it, finding a lawyer specialized in this area for me. Daniel's injuries weren't even classified as minor assault. At most, I'd pay him a few $1,000s. I had Sophie withdraw cash from the nearest ATM and threw the money at Daniel's swollen, pig-like face. There. Now let's talk about you illegally entering my residence. Daniel's eyes were red-shot. Clara stood protectively in front of him, frowning as she warned me. I gave him permission to enter. You seem to forget I own this house. Our house, cars, living expenses, everything was paid for with my money, not a cent of hers. We bought several properties after marriage, all under her name. But the marital home was bought before marriage under my name and never transferred. Clara only seemed to remember this now, stuttered for a moment. You don't need to be so literal. Did you forget you were the one who called the police, Clara? You killed Noah, threw away all his belongings, you try to erase everything, yet you accuse me of being literal. You're quite good at twisting the truth. Each word was squeezed from my throat. Clara looked at Daniel in disbelief. You threw away Noah's things? Didn't I tell you not to touch anything in the house? Daniel opened his mouth, stammered, but made no sound, his gaze shifting away. Annoyed, I said, those things of Noah's you threw out are worth at least $50,000. Illegal trespass, destruction of property, that's enough to land you in jail for a few years. I had no more time to waste on them and turned to leave. Clara chased after me, anxious and distraught. I'm sorry, Alex. To avoid suspicion, I moved out after he moved in. I didn't know he... Slap. I slapped her hard across the face again. Clara, you better pray you find all of Noah's things. Otherwise, including you, I'll make you understand what living hell means. My brother had already contacted the local sanitation department and hired a temporary crew to search for Noah's belongings. Sophie and I rushed over. Clara followed. Your body hasn't recovered yet. Go rest. I'll definitely find them. I didn't want to speak to her. Taking the gloves Sophie handed me, I started searching through the mountain of trash. Clara stood there unsure where to begin. What exactly were Noah's things? For the first 3 years after Noah was born, before Daniel returned, she had cared for him meticulously. Back then, she changed his diapers, made his baby food. Outside of work, she spent all her time with him, which is why Noah was so attached to her, and everyone told me how lucky I was. But since Daniel reappeared, Clara's time, apart from work, was spent at Daniel's place. She could rattle off Liam's height, weight, and preferences for 3 minutes straight. When it came to Noah, she didn't even know which preschool he attended, let alone details about his clothes or toys.
I lowered my head and continued digging through the trash. Silent, Clara awkwardly went to ask the others, who showed her photos. In the sweltering summer heat, the stench from the trash heap was unimaginable. Clara searched the hardest, not resting at noon, not eating or drinking, eventually collapsing from heat stroke on the garbage mountain. An ambulance took her away. After regaining consciousness, she ran back, gritting her teeth and digging through the refuse. The lawyer called. Mr. Alex, this Mr. Daniel wants to talk to you. He says as long as he doesn't go to jail, he'll agree to anything, including compensating for all financial losses. What do you think? Tell him to take his son and kneel at my son's grave. They can get up when every single one of Noah's things is found intact. If he agrees, I won't press charges. I hung up. Clara frowned. Daniel's actions this time were indeed excessive, but he's just an office worker, and Liam has a congenital heart condition. I cut her off. You kneel with them too.
Otherwise, wait for me to send him to jail. As for my son's things, I don't need your help finding them. You could be absent from Noah's life for 2 years. Now, Noah doesn't need you at all." I forcefully pushed Clara away and continued searching the trash. Sophie updated me daily on Clara and the father-son duo situation. I meant what I said. Neil means day and night. Whether their bodies could take it was none of my concern. The minor trouble they endured was not even a tenth of Noah's suffering. It took 2 full days to find everything. Ignoring how dirty they were, I hugged them tightly, overjoyed, tears streaming down my face. Sophie patted my shoulder. "Let's go home. Noah would be heartbroken to see you like this." The house was filled with unfamiliar things. It made me sick. I hired people to throw everything out. Clara, Daniel, and Liam knelt for 2 days and nights. Even if not perfectly standard kneeling, their bodies couldn't handle it. All 3 walked unsteadily. Daniel's voice choked with sobs. Annoyed, I grabbed a photo frame and threw it at him. "A few $1,000 gets me 1 hit on you. I can afford that." Even if Daniel refused reconciliation, the penalty would likely be just a few days in custody, a consequence I could accept. Daniel looked like a strangled duck, gasping for air, but not daring to speak again, just staring at Clara with bloodshot eyes. Her expression towards me was complicated. "We've done as you asked. You can withdraw the charges now, right?" "Of course." As a smile flickered across Daniel's face, I continued. "But Clara, I've changed my mind. I'm not getting divorced. I'll drag this out with you. I'll teach you both properly what being unreasonable and deliberately targeting someone really means." Clara wouldn't get a cent from me in a divorce settlement to fund Daniel and his son. Neither of them would get away easy. After throwing out Daniel and Liam's things, I threw out all of Clara's belongings too, then changed the house locks. "Clara, during our marriage, you borrowed from me a total of $200,000 and promised to pay me back. You were capable enough to offer paying back Daniel's debt. Surely you won't deliberately delay repaying my money." Clara was competitive and proud. That's how she became so successful. Similarly, she couldn't stand being provoked. Even though Daniel repeatedly tried to dissuade her from repaying, she still transferred the money to me, and it was all the cash she had available. Clara looked somewhat embarrassed. "You hate me. Take revenge however you want. I deserve it. But Daniel and his child at most just accepted my help. They did nothing wrong. There's no point talking to someone whose mind isn't clear." "Should they still come for the interview about the fire?" Sophie asked me. "Yes, why not?" When the truth about the fire was initially exposed, I, the victim, didn't give any interviews, affording Clara some dignity. Many netizens speculated maybe she had reasons. How could someone possibly ignore their own son? But since she herself had thrown away her dignity, why should I preserve it for her? Before the interview could happen, however, Clara called first, her tone urgent. "Where is Noah's grave? Since you didn't treat him as your son when he was alive, now that he's dead, don't taint his path to the afterlife. I won't let you see him ever again." I had already moved Noah's ashes and tombstone. Noah didn't want this mother anymore. I had to fulfill his last wish. "I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to," I brutally said. I chuckled, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. "Don't regret it so quickly. This is just the beginning." That afternoon, reporters came over. Facing the camera, I told the truth. I told my wife our hotel and room number, but she blocked me. Wouldn't answer calls from me or our child because she had to accompany Daniel and his son. She was afraid we would bother her. When she rescued that pair, she walked right past our room door. My son Noah was constantly crying out for mommy, but she was worried about the severe injuries, 1 or 2 blisters, on that pair, rushing to get them out. Without searching other rooms, she told the other rescuers on her team that there were no other trapped individuals. This delayed the golden rescue window, and my son Noah died. Remembering Noah collapsing in my arms, I choked up several times before I could finish speaking. The video was uploaded and once again caused a massive uproar. Considering the severe negative impact Clara caused, the fire department suspended her from work. I gathered all of our acquaintances into a group chat. This is Alex, Clara's husband. Sorry to bother everyone, but with recent family matters, there are some things I must clarify. If Clara asks to borrow money from any of you, it is solely for taking care of Daniel and his son. I personally will not bear responsibility for these deaths. She currently has no savings or other fixed assets, only her monthly salary for repayment. Please consider carefully before lending her money. I'd be a fool to repay the money Clara used to support Daniel and his son. This wasn't a baseless worry. She had borrowed money before to buy a house for them. Considering Clara's inability to repay, most people wouldn't lend her money. However, she had helped many people before, and some were willing to lend to her. When Clara helped Daniel and his son find a rental, I had someone find out the address. Once they moved in, I hired thugs to splash feces and paint, leave bloody notes, and hang banners. Home-wrecking scum, clinging to someone else's wife, causing the death of their son. Aren't you afraid your bad karma will strike your own sickly child? And, Clara, you caused your own son's death. Aren't you afraid his vengeful spirit will haunt you? Clara and Daniel called the police, arresting the thugs. No matter, it was just harassment. They'd be released after a few days and could continue, or I could hire a new batch. As long as I had money, plenty of people were eager to do my bidding. Clara and Daniel couldn't stand it and moved. I'd find their new address and repeat the process. Furthermore, Sophie would gather evidence of how much money Clara spent on Daniel and his son, and every week file a suit in court to recover the joint marital assets. If Daniel had no money, no problem. He still had a car the court could auction. No car? No problem. His bank accounts could be frozen. Neither Clara nor Daniel cared about losing face anymore, so why should I care about the effort? Before, just saying one word made Clara accuse me of targeting Daniel, making things difficult for them. I couldn't bear that false accusation silently.
Only Sophie, who usually handled cases worth hundreds of millions. Spending all day on these petty matters for me was overkill. I told her she could assign another lawyer, but Sophie said, "Your brother and sister-in-law feel guilty enough for not taking better care of their nephew. They can't let anyone bully you now. Besides, being a lawyer is stressful. Playing along with you is like a vacation." After just a month of this torment, Daniel couldn't take it anymore, mainly because his son had a heart condition and the repeated scares almost killed him. Daniel couldn't even afford the medical bills. Clara came to confront me. "If you keep this up, aren't you afraid someone will die?" I laughed. "Why should I be afraid? Causing a death is serious. You'll go to jail too." "Jail is jail. Noah's gone. Inside or outside makes no difference to me. Besides, I just hired people to harass Daniel. If his son dies from fright, it's not directly my fault. Maybe a few years in prison, maybe just pay a fine. It's worth it." Clara looked at me, her eyes dark and clouded. "Alex, how did you become like this?" I retorted, "Weren't you the one who pushed me? She killed my son. I couldn't move on. My heart ached. Why should they live happily?" Clara opened her mouth but said nothing, only a bitter look crossing her features. She left, her legs seemingly filled with lead. Daniel, carrying his son, came crying, begging me for reconciliation. I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop. Daniel looked much older, his eyes filled with resentment when he looked at me. "I'm really jealous of you, Alex. You're good-looking, capable, from a good family and married a wonderful wife. Unlike me, my parents are obsessed with money, forced me to marry an abusive older woman 20 years my senior just for more gifts. They ruined my life." I sipped my coffee. "I'm not here to listen to your story. His parents failed him, not me. I wasn't Clara. His sad story wouldn't make me forgive him. But I've been holding this in for a long time. I've loved Clara since middle school, right up till now. When I first came back after the divorce, I saw Clara and worried she hated me for marrying someone else. But she was very good to me. I couldn't help but wonder if she still loved me, just like I still loved her. Every time I deliberately said things to provoke her, watching her get angry at you because of me and Liam, my heart felt sweet. But after all these years, I have to tell you the truth. Clara helped me and Liam purely out of pity. She never did anything inappropriate with me. It's not that I didn't try to initiate something, but she never gave me the chance. Now Clara and I have paid the price for this. I'll leave. Stop making things difficult for her. She's suffering too because of the child's death, maybe just as much as you. Daniel went on a long tangent, pouring out his heart. I didn't answer immediately, just played with my phone. Ding dong! Daniel's phone chimed. He looked at it and his face instantly turned ugly upon seeing the message because I had sent the video recording of his confession to all my chat groups and contacts, including him and Clara. You didn't actually think saying a few soft words would make me let you go, did you? His suffering was no excuse for tormenting Noah and me. Daniel's face turned ashen, his legs gave out, and he collapsed onto the floor. He made my child suffer for 2 years. Now he could endure my revenge for 2 years. Whether his son's heart condition would worsen, whether he'd suffer psychological trauma, how much gossip he'd endure, how many nightmares he'd have, none of that was my concern. I was only curious how Clara would react when she saw the video. I left the coffee shop and headed home. Unexpectedly, Clara was squatting by my door waiting. Like Daniel, the constant harassment by thugs, lack of sleep, hospital visits for Liam, and money troubles had taken their toll. She looked much older. She must have seen the video I sent. She looked like she'd suffered a major blow, eyes bloodshot, even streaks of white in her hair. Seeing me, Clara walked over, urgent and sincere. Alex, believe me, I didn't know Daniel thought that way. I just felt your brother was good to you. You had many friends. You were capable. While his parents only cared about money, wanting to bleed him dry, treating him terribly. He was divorced, raising a child alone. It wasn't easy. I felt he needed me more than you did. That's why I helped him. I absolutely had no other intentions. Never did anything to betray you. From now on, I'll cut ties with him. I'll listen to everything you say. Please. Clara spoke quickly, as if afraid I'd kick her out before she finished. Since we started dating, she had always been the one in control, while I was the one revolving around her. This was the first time she had ever been so humble. Without much hesitation, I nodded. Okay. Clara stared at me blankly. I said, okay, if you have hearing problems, go see an ENT doctor. You're still young. Maybe it's treatable. Sophie pushed open the car door, walked out, and complained to me. Listening to you two talk so much made me thirsty. Alex, aren't you going to invite me in for a glass of water? Let's go. I smiled at her and walked inside side by side with her. Clara's face lit up with suppressed joy. She immediately followed us in, pouring water for Sophie and me. It was only around 2 p.m. I took a sip from my glass. Sophie, you've been busy helping me lately. Why don't you stay for dinner tonight? Clara's a good cook. You can try her food. Sophie smiled. You'll have to ask the lady herself. Miss Clara, do you mind? Clara, you don't mind, right? We don't have groceries at home, so could you trouble yourself to make a trip? Sophie and I are tired. We won't go with you. Without looking up, I said to Sophie, I noticed you always wear that one necklace, so I picked out a few more for you. They'll be delivered in a couple of days. Also, bought some seasonal dresses. Sophie grinned. Usually boyfriends buy these things. Isn't it a bit inappropriate for you to buy them for me? You're my brother's good friend. We're practically like siblings. What's wrong with buying you a few things? I said, all right, I remember you said you get headaches. I happen to have some free time now. Let me give you a massage. I stood up, walked behind Sophie, and started massaging her head. Lean against me. It's easier to massage this way. Your wife is still here. What's wrong with this? Our consciences are clear. Anyone who thinks otherwise has a dirty mind. She didn't say anything more, leaning against me, her head resting right around my lower abdomen, a rather suggestive position. Clara stood nearby, her expression shifting, silent for a long time, repeatedly looking like she wanted to speak, but didn't. I turned to look at her, the smile gone from my face. If you don't want to cook, just say so. Sophie and I can eat out. We're not short on money for one meal. Yes, I'll go. It's okay. I'll go. She went out to buy groceries and cook, taking a total of 4.5 hours. When she finished,
I went into the kitchen and looked. The flavors are too bland. Sophie doesn't like them. You eat at home. We'll go out to find a restaurant.
Ignoring Clara's darkened expression, I went out, called Sophie, put my arm around her shoulder, and walked out laughing and chatting. When we returned that night, Clara had cleaned the house spotless, just like when we were first married. It's late. We have plenty of rooms anyway. Sophie, why don't you sleep here tonight? At my hint, Sophie smiled. Our Alex is grown up, knows how to care for people now. I smiled, wrapped my arm around her shoulder, pulling her into an embrace. Of course, Sophie is good to me, so naturally, I have to care for you too. Clara, who had been quiet as a mouse, finally couldn't take it anymore. Alex, are you retaliating against me? She sounded panicked and hurt. Maybe the old me would have felt sorry, but the current me felt nothing. Retaliating? You're overthinking it. Driving at night isn't safe. I just asked her to stay one night. Why are you making a fuss about even this? I muttered dismissively, ignoring her, and asked Sophie to watch the news with me. When I tried to discuss news with Clara, she'd just grunt in response. Sophie was different. She was knowledgeable, informed about various topics. When something interesting came up, she'd even debate with me about the impact of recent international events on stock market trends. We chatted animatedly. Clara was completely unable to join the conversation, her occasional interjections ignored. She sat beside us, her eyes growing increasingly dim. When it was time for bed, Clara went to the master bedroom early. I came out shirtless, wearing only pajama pants. "Where are you going?" Clara asked, frowning. "Sophie has trouble sleeping. I'm going to give her a massage." "Dressed like that? She's an adult woman and you're a married man. Do you think that's appropriate?" "Clara, we're just normal siblings. Stop being unreasonably jealous at inappropriate times." All of this had happened before in similar ways. Clara and Daniel had said similar things. I was just returning the favor, certainly not going overboard. I thought, given Clara's stubbornness, she could endure this for at least another month or two. Unexpectedly, she couldn't hold on for even 2 days. When Clara came to me with the divorce papers, she had dark circles under her eyes. "For the harm I caused you and Noah in the past, I'm sorry. I always thought because I hadn't physically cheated, I hadn't wronged Noah and me, that you were just being petty." Those words she used to spout so righteously and confidently, this time she struggled to say them, finally showing some shame. The divorce agreement stated she would leave with nothing. I glanced at it, signed it decisively, and we went to the courthouse to file the divorce application. All the family assets were originally mine anyway. Her salary had all been spent on Daniel, his son, and others. She certainly wasn't losing out. After the mandatory cooling-off period, we went to the courthouse and received our divorce certificates. Clara, who never used to drink, now drank constantly, looking haggard and defeated, completely different from before. She quit her job, told me she wanted to teach in a poor mountainous region as a way to accumulate merit for Noah, leaving the next day. From the moment we met until now, she saved my life and she took my son's life. I fell in love with her because of a fire, and I came to hate her because of a fire. Now, revenge was achieved, and seeing her dispirited state, I felt no satisfaction, only a heavy suffocation. After all, we were once a happy family of 3. I said nothing, just turned and got into the car. Daniel and Liam, harassed daily by the people I hired, lived miserably. Clara ran off to a remote mountain area, living a harsh life. I heard she discovered a woman who'd been trafficked and tried to help her, but the villagers broke her leg and she was almost sold off herself. Later, both she and the woman were rescued, but Clara had to move to another place to teach. All those who bullied Noah ended up miserable. Yet Noah's death still weighed heavily on my heart, keeping me awake night after night. Unable to work, I signed up as a volunteer, doing charity work everywhere. Only the busyness and the fleeting satisfaction of helping others could temporarily fill the emptiness and panic in my heart. Perhaps one day I will let go of Noah and start a new journey. Clara's perspective. Saving Alex, meeting him was an accident. He was handsome, capable, and gentle-natured, easy to fall for. Initially, I had no intention of getting deeply involved with this rich young master. After all, his background was so good, while I was just a firefighter, both parents deceased. Even an ordinary family like Daniel's was unwilling to let their son marry me, let alone a rich family like Alex's. But the more I interacted with Alex, the harder it was to control my heart. I had dated Daniel for a long time. We had a good relationship, but he often nagged me to save more money for after marriage, not to always think about helping others. There were so many poor people in the world, we couldn't possibly help them all. It would only empty our own pockets. But after my father died, our family received a lot of help from others. After my mother also passed away when I was 15, my living expenses were covered by sponsors. They helped me wholeheartedly, asking for nothing in return. My mother always told me, "You're young now, your main task is to study, but you've received so much help from others. When you grow up and are capable, you must also give back to society to be worthy of their support." I grew up, became capable, so I felt obligated to help others. Seeing the vulnerable, I tried ignoring them, but I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't sleep at night. Later, Daniel's family demanded a huge dowry I couldn't afford, and he broke up with me. I thought perhaps someone like me wasn't suited for marriage. But then Alex appeared. He would join me in sponsoring children who couldn't afford school, visit lonely elderly people, bringing them food and supplies, and donate money to those who couldn't afford medical care. The longer I knew him, the more I couldn't control my feelings. Yet I knew clearly I wasn't worthy of him. Not wanting to deepen my feelings only to separate later, I seriously discussed my family background with him and the fact that I donated my monthly salary to others. I expected Alex to be disappointed. Instead, he gently ruffled my hair. Few people can do this in modern society. It's a noble quality. Why would you think it's a flaw? My family has money, and my monthly salary is quite high, definitely enough to support you and a child. We don't need your salary. Feel free to help others. I have no objection. Alex's parents had passed away. Only his brother and sister-in-law remained. They weren't thrilled with me, but respected his decision. We got married. Looking back at that time always felt like a dream. I married the man I loved, and he supported everything I did. I didn't know how to express my joy, so I took on all the housework, bore him a child. Only by being better to him could I feel worthy of his love.
Later, we had our child Noah, and our little family became even happier. But that only lasted for the first couple of years. Gradually, some things started to change. Sometimes when I was doing good deeds and acquaintances saw me, they would tease. "Clara probably spends all her earnings on others. Doesn't Alex mind?" Anyone else, maybe, but Alex is a rich kid, family's loaded, high salary. He supports Clara doing good deeds. Colleagues chatting, sometimes mentioning mortgages, car loans, life pressures, would almost always bring me up. I really envy Clara, married a rich guy, house and car provided, husband earns a lot, never has to worry about mortgages or car loans. I wish I could be like Clara, not having to worry about anything, do good deeds in her spare time, even get praised by the leadership. What a beautiful life. Get lost. Clara does all the housework, is an amazing cook, takes care of Alex perfectly. Could you do that? Teasing like this was endless. I knew I shouldn't take others' words too seriously, but whenever I faced Alex, I felt strange. Sometimes when I worried about helping a family but lacked the funds, Alex would smile and say, "Why are you worrying about this? If you don't have money, just tell me. I do." He was just trying to help me, which used to make me happy. But later, it left an indescribable taste in my mouth. Especially when visiting Alex's family, his brother and sister-in-law often talked to me. "I understand you want to help people, but let alone an ordinary person like you, even the Alex's family can't possibly help everyone in need. Clara, helping others within your means is doing good, but going beyond your capacity becomes a burden. You're married with a child now. Think more about your family. I'm not asking you to help Alex, but at least don't drag him down or add to his burden." Others had said similar things, but hearing it from Alex's brother and sister-in-law felt particularly humiliating. I tried not helping others, but I'd toss and turn at night feeling guilty. I tried earning more money, but I was just a firefighter with no other skills. After work, I still did all the housework, cooked Alex's favorite meals,
but my mindset had changed. The year Noah turned 3 was incredibly difficult for me, until Daniel returned, beaten and bruised, holding Liam, begging me for help. Alex was handsome, strong, independent, capable of handling anything himself. I felt like his pet, a superfluous decoration. But Daniel was different. He was careless, forgetful. He needed help with everything. I devoted almost all of my time to caring for them, and that anxious feeling began to slowly ease. But then Alex suddenly started arguing with me. I didn't understand. I was helping Daniel and his son just like I helped others. Why did he have to be so petty? I had told him countless times I had no romantic feelings for Daniel, never did anything to betray him. I wasn't oblivious to Daniel's attempts to seduce me, but I dismissed it as him being unable to let go of our past relationship. As long as I didn't cross the line, didn't cheat, it was fine. I lived like this for 2 years, until Noah died and Alex exploded. Perhaps because he usually tolerated me too much. Only at that moment did I realize he too could feel anger, disappointment, and choose to leave. Knowing that Noah died because of my mistake, I was plagued by nightmares. Yet I still thought that, since I hadn't cheated, there was still a chance for Alex and me. However, seeing him with Sophie at home those 2 days, I realized how wrong I was. Apparently, you don't actually have to cheat to hurt someone deeply. I couldn't stand living like that for even a day. How had he endured it for 2 whole years? I began to loathe myself, filled with regret. But no matter what I thought or did, Noah was gone, and there was no possibility for Alex and me anymore. Seeing fire triggered memories of Noah, hearing him cry, "Mommy, save me!" I developed a phobia, couldn't bear the sight of fire anymore, and chose to resign. I wanted to do something for Noah, like teaching in the mountains to earn merit for him. While teaching in the mountains for 10 years, I tried to save a trafficked woman and had my leg broken by the villagers. I don't regret it. I only regret saving so many people, yet failing to save my own son and my marriage. I heard Daniel and Liam were harassed by thugs for 2 years, until Alex finally let them be. But Daniel got involved with a rich older woman whose husband was fierce and ruthless. Liam, terrified, suffered a fatal heart attack in the hospital. Daniel blinded the man in one eye and was sent to prison. In the 11th year, Alex was getting married. His partner wasn't Sophie, but someone I'd never seen. I took half a month's leave, traveled non-stop, wanting to attend his wedding. He was finally starting a new life. I had to wish him well. The journey took 58 hours. I was lucky. I saw Alex just as I entered the city. He was laughing with a beautiful woman. She bit her lip and threw herself into his arms, her face full of shy happiness. "Alex!" I called his name eagerly, but I was too far away. He didn't hear, and got into the car with the woman. I rushed to follow, hating my limp more than ever, but a car sped out from the side. I was hit, falling to the ground. The watch box in my hand rolled away. I used 10 years of savings to buy him a watch, a gift I should have given him when we got married. I lifted my hand slightly, wanting to retrieve the watch, but my hand hurt. I couldn't move. "Alex," I called his name, but the car started, slowly disappearing. When he and Noah begged me in the fire, was their despair like this? Blood choked my coughs, my vision slowly darkening. I'm going to see Noah now. I hope he's still willing to see me.